so grateful you took the time to come to maybe a first-time thing you've never really done, or maybe this is your 5th year joining us. But I'm so glad you guys chose to spend time with us. And I looked over the attendance list. There's a lot of people in this room that I don't know, and I think that is the coolest thing, given that this is the 5th year of a ministry. We've done several events, and just how word has gotten out, and that just really causes me to pause and know that you are here for a purpose, for a reason, and I'm so excited to learn along with you what that reason is. So thank you so much for being here. Really excited. Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I was the person last year, I went to the concert. My friend Meryl brought me to the baton pass, and I'm like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're going. We're going to have fun. So if you're kind of dragged along because your friend's like, let's come to this event, this is for you. So welcome, and it's going to be an amazing time.
Yes, trusting that in advance. So just so you know, we're going to do there'll be a couple of talks, there'll be a couple activities around your table. Please don't stop eating, right? I think a lot of times we're just like trying to shove things in our mouth on the go, but while you're sitting, please eat, okay? That stuff is out there for you to consume, and I think we should just give something away to the table that eats everything. Okay, I just called him out on that one. Okay, you get a free sticker, so shut your mouth.
It's like a Colonial Cafe Sunday where if you eat it all, or the old 46er, I don't know if anyone knows that. No, okay.
That's so good. So just a little heads up, just so that you know kind of what you're getting yourself into. Chances are there's going to be a story told where you really resonate with something that a woman has said as she shares her story. Chances are you have never experienced something that a woman has shared before. And I think culturally, there are a lot of warnings, and you've seen this a lot, like on Instagram posts or Facebook posts, where they have a trigger warning so that someone reading might not read any further. Well, today I want to do something a little different. If there's something that could potentially trigger you, I'm going to challenge you appropriately in this space to lean in, to sit in the discomfort, and pay attention to what God is doing. In that, my counselor always says, you have to feel in order to deal, in order to heal. And our ultimate prayer is that you would receive healing through community today around these tables, but then also moving forward. So just wanted to challenge you in that. Is that okay? You guys feel okay about that? And just to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, your friend is over here. She's waving. There you go. We're all here. Welcome.
The most important thing you missed is finish all of the food.
Yes, yes. I think just to bounce off that, Liz, too, is I think sometimes when we hear somebody's story and they're like, it doesn't really, it's not connecting, because I've never experienced that. We all have similar emotions where we felt sadness, we felt hurt, we felt extreme joy. So I think that helps us build empathy and to understand, maybe we haven't gone through exactly the same things, but it helps us better understand our story and hear and listen and understand what God's doing in other people's lives as well.
That's good. So we're going to play a little game, Have You Ever? Yeah. And you can feel free to participate if you want, but you can also just agree with us in your mind. So go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, so have you ever left your car and drive believing that you parked it, and then left it as it is rolling behind you?
Absolutely.
I have never done such a thing.
I've done that with all 3 kids in my car. No? Okay. We're all fine. We live to tell the tale. Have you ever, in a high traffic environment, pushed a pull door or pulled a push door? Extra points if you run into it. We're not keeping track of points, but everyone was like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh, that's so embarrassing. But just leveling the ground here.
Yeah. Have you ever had a conversation, somebody was so excited to talk to you, they came up, they were telling you all these things, and then you left the conversation wondering, I have no idea who this person is.
I don't know. I haven't, but my husband has. Okay, and now we're just going to go a little deeper. Have you ever woken up a morning either filled with shame or regret from not even remembering what you did the night before, or in turn, remembering that there's someone not there, that your family is not what you thought it was going to look like, that you have to go to another appointment at school, you have to go to another doctor's appointment, potentially receiving even worse news. Have you ever?
Yeah, have you ever been with friends, maybe people that you've known your whole life, or maybe new friends, and then you just kind of left that conversation feeling really unfilled, like what is this friendship? Like it feels very surfacely. It's not fun.
It's not fun. Have you ever wondered where God is in your story, in your family, in your day, or maybe even in your life? If you hear anything today, I want you to hear that you're not alone. You're not alone. And I really believe you're in the right spot because there is more to your story. So with that, we are going to welcome up Kelly Olson. If you would please give her a warm welcome.
Welcome. So good to see so many familiar faces and so many new faces. Thank you, Liz and Danielle, for hosting tonight. You guys did a great job of just letting us know that we're more alike than we are different, right? So I want to take a moment, though, just to celebrate everyone that's here today. I know firsthand that you had to probably overcome some obstacles in order to get here. Physical obstacles, mental, emotional obstacles, family obstacles, but you are here, and just as Liz and Danielle already said, you're here for a reason. It's by such a thin thread that we're all connected. It's by such a thin thread that you're here in this room. And I think it's really cool that never again in history will the 80 women in this space ever be in this space again. Unless we did a reunion next year. But there's a reason that you are here. I want to give a quick shout out to a few ladies that traveled some extra distances. Becky from Indiana. Becky's my sweet friend over there. And Katie from Minnesota. We have friends from Bloomington, Illinois that have joined us, so thank you for being here. And even friends from downtown Chicago, which this is like a trek. So thank you all. We're so glad that you're with us. So how many of you, this is your very first baton pass event? Wow. So it's like half the room. That's really exciting. We're so glad to have you here. So you're probably asking the question, what the heck is the baton pass? And what's with this theme? There's more to the story. I'd like to answer those two questions so that you know what you're a part of today. The formal answer is the Baton Pass is a non-for-profit organization that empowers women to overcome through the sharing of our stories. The story behind the story, though, is that when I was 20 years old, I heard a woman share her story of overcoming trauma. And it was a trauma that I had experienced. It's a trauma that 1 in 6 women experience in their lifetime. I had never met this woman before, and her story sounded so similar to mine, but the ending was different. My ending had brokenness, blackouts, flashbacks in it, and her story concluded with redemption and healing. And when I heard her story, I remember sitting there, it sparked something inside of me that I could be whole again too. I did not have to remain broken. That woman's name was Lindsay, and in sharing her story, Lindsay passed me a baton of hope. And that's what we're here to do today. So over the next 10 years, after Lindsay shared her story, it just became kind of an internal mission of mine. Anytime somebody had something going on in their life that was heavy and I wanted to encourage them, I would pray, Lord, who else has walked this road that they could encourage this friend of mine? And it gave me so much life and energy to be able to connect those individuals. But in 2017, I rounded up a group of amazing women, and a lot of them are here today. And we realized that events like this could multiply those connections and multiply the hope that was being passed on. So we did our very first event in Wheaton, Illinois on November 12th, 2017. Katie and I were there just setting up, just hoping that people were going to show up. And we had about 45 ladies come to that first event. And ever since then, we've been unleashing the power of stories. So that's the baton pass. But you guys might be asking too, well, what's the theme? There's more to the story. Well, I believe that this is a sacred and safe space, so I'm going to go first and be vulnerable, okay? This is really embarrassing to admit, but I just experienced this a little over a month ago. My husband and I, this is my husband Nate running our sound. My husband and I got a day pass in the nicest beachfront resort in the little town that we were staying. And we wanted to make the most of that time. We are 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag kind of people. And so we arrived right at 9 a.m. when our pass started. And most of the chairs at the pool were already taken and claimed. So we searched all over and found 2 chairs where we could put our towels down and our cover-ups and have an ocean view. So we did that. We ran to breakfast and we returned about 90 minutes later. And our stuff was moved, just thrown to the side. Without consulting my level-headed husband, I bulldozed over to these seats that we had reserved 90 minutes ago. This was our one day at this pool. And there was a couple sipping their drinks in our chairs. I walked over there, took a deep breath. Excuse me, I think that stuff, it's ours, and it was on these chairs. Well, the couple said, actually, these chairs belong to the cabana. We rented the cabana, and you get the chairs in front of it. Oh, well, that's special. Nobody told us that. Okay. So we went back and forth for a few minutes, and the husband, Tyler, ended up introducing himself to Nate, trying to keep the ladies cool, I guess. And they agreed that we'd each get 1 chair. So that was the compromise. After we sat down, I felt a little embarrassed for being such a bulldog, and I went over and apologized to the wife for being so territorial. I got to know her and introduce myself. Her name's Shelly, and we hung out at the pool for 4 or 5 hours getting to know them, and we got to hear more of their story. This is where the embarrassment comes in. We discovered that they weren't supposed to be on this trip. They were supposed to be at home with their newborn baby girl. But a week before the due date, just 6 weeks prior, they lost the baby. It took every ounce of courage for Shelly and Tyler just to show up to that trip. They had experienced the greatest loss of their life, and I was about to pick a fight with her at the pool over a pool chair. If I had only known her story, I would have put down my towel, I would have laid on the concrete if I had to, and I would have sat on the edge of that pool, and I would have cordially greeted her. I would have celebrated her just for showing up. Now, Shelly is somebody that I met once. We're friends now on Instagram, and we message back and forth there. But how many people in our lives do we pass often and never really know what's going on in their lives? The pain that they're carrying and the obstacles that they're facing. Maybe it's the woman that you see often at the gym. Maybe it's the mom that you wait outside your kid's school for that bell to ring. Maybe it's a coworker of yours that seems to have it all together. But in the slowing down, checking, and listening, we're able to see that there is truly more to the story. My hope and prayer is that this event accomplishes one of 3 things for you guys. First, I pray that this helps us see that there is always more to the story. That until we sit down and truly get to hear people, we will only know a small sliver of what's going on in their lives. Instead of making assumptions that, oh, they have it all together, oh, it must be nice, slow down and really listen to them. Second, I pray that as you listen to these stories that are going to be shared today with some very courageous women, that you're able to borrow some of their courage. Maybe even leave this afternoon with your hope refreshed. I pray that you leave confident that regardless of what you're currently facing, whatever you've been through, that there's still more to your story. That is my hope and prayer. And then finally, I really would like, for those of you that have been pushing through like a soldier, just trying to survive, that today would be a day that you can let down your armor just for a moment. That you would allow one other woman, maybe it's the woman to your left or the woman to your right, but one one other woman into the pain that you're carrying. Sometimes we need somebody to remind us that our story's not over. My dear friend Danielle Zapchenk is going to remind us of this, that there is truly more to the story. Danielle is a friend of mine, a speaker, and a host for the Parable Podcast. I've been honored to, if you're interested in checking out her Parable Podcast, we just had 3 unique baton pass messages on there called Unleashing Your Story. So definitely check out the Parable Podcast. Little plug for your sister. But she is passionate about women's ministry. She loves trying new restaurants. She's quite the foodie. I love having her as a friend. She has an amazing husband, Eric, and 2 awesome kids. Help me welcome up our first speaker today and our host, Danielle.
Well, like Kelly said, my name is Danielle, and I often feel like I am not good enough. Maybe you have that same feeling too. Like you don't measure up, wondering, does my story, do certain parts of my story matter? Does God even care about the little things that feel very big to me? All of the small moments and the relationships that I've had into my life, they've slowly built up over time. Positive or negative, they have seeped into my soul, into my heart. They've become part of my thoughts. They've become a part of who I am, whether I've asked them to or not. One of the times I started feeling not good enough was when I was 16 years old. I remember it well, being told by my best friend that I was just too much, that I needed to suppress my joy, the person that God created me to be. Did I have some finessing to do as a 16-year-old? Yes. What 16-year-old doesn't? But it made me second guess and doubt my decisions. It wasn't overnight, but it happened over time, and I don't believe that this was always intentional. I sometimes wondered, how was it that she made me feel like we were friends, that she loved Jesus, but yet she still made me feel so small and hurt at the same time, like I was not good enough. I believe she had some own past hurts, looking back at it, and that past hurt that she had, it spilled over into our relationship, and my heart, it became collateral damage. It was a cycle that I didn't realize I put myself into, and college came, and even though we were hundreds of miles apart, it couldn't prepare me for the final blow of our friendship. And it was the breaking point. God helped me finally realize, you know what? I need to set a boundary here. And it was over. Or so I thought. Because even though those flippant words of not being good enough, they were still playing on repeat in my mind as I entered marriage, as I went into my job, as I was changing diapers, as I was just doing random things around the house, I still questioned, am I good enough? Why was I holding on to all of these little things? It's because I'm pretty sure I was the only one that was probably still hashing this over in my mind, right? We do that. So the woman not feeling good enough because you've been burned by a past friendship or a relationship, to the sister who feels inadequate and small, to the woman who easily compares and thinks, am I the only one that focuses on the past? I have been there, and I have questioned, I still do. It's hard to stop listening to the lies of the past when they have become ingrained on your heart. A few weeks ago, I was in a small group, and I was having a conversation with the ladies at the table, sharing about a time when we had to share truth into somebody else's life, one of our friendships, people that we love, even when it is difficult. So to my left was my new friend, Carrie, and I don't know about you, but creating friendships as an adult, it's really hard, right? It's awkward to be like, hey, do you want to be my friend? You know, life calls you to so many tasks, right? We have these responsibilities and schedules and to-do lists. So initially, in my head, when Carrie wanted to start being my friend, I'm thinking, okay, is this worth it? My good enough signal is going off. Because building friendships is slow, and it takes time. So Carrie shared her story and in turn gave me an opportunity to share one of mine. A story that overall it seems quite simple. It can be complex to me, but compared to others I thought, is this even really a big deal? It is. It's because it's who I am today because of that story. After I got home that night, I let Carrie know something. I don't know about you, but there are certain names that stick with you over time. I know, like, when we tried to name our kids, I was like, what about this name for our son? And my husband would be like, oh, that was my preschool bully. Okay, all right. So there's these names that stick into our hearts and our minds because Carrie was the name of my high school best friend. It was late, and I felt like, gosh, it's too late to text. But I felt like God said, you know what, I need you to send this. And I texted her, and I let her know that she is one of the most generous, honest, encouraging humans, and I'm grateful for this new friendship. It was one Carrie that broke my heart 20 years ago. But now this present-day Carrie has redeemed this name for me, and I'm honored to call her friend. This one little moment of time, it helped me heal. 20 years later, it still mattered. But God wasn't done. Because as we know today, there's always more to the story. Carrie responded back asking if I would believe that the best friend that she shared about that night, the one that had caused her so much hurt, well, her name was Danielle. And Carrie's here today too. If I could go back and I could encourage myself now, I would share that God, He is in the details of our life. When we wonder if He cares about the little things, that those words that were said 20 years ago, don't let that flicker of hope be extinguished. If a friendship or a relationship has run its course, or it's just in a weird place, know that He hasn't forgotten that. I still struggle with that. I often forget that our story matters. Even though I believe that, I still forget daily. But He doesn't forget. God is faithful at redeeming us piece by piece, friendship by friendship. Sadly, I've had a few of these instances in my life, and God reminds me that we're human, we're going to fail each other, I'm going to fail my friends. However, He is never going to fail you. He has blessed me with the woman who sees me, with women who see me, who love me for who I am, flawed and all. And we may never, ever live up to the world's standards of being good enough. But you know what? He is good enough for us. It is so scary, like being in this room today, to stand up, to come into a place like this, like I don't know what I'm doing here, to have courage to keep putting your heart and yourself out there. But we need you. Because there is more to your story, because He has called us to continue to share with others in our community, in coffee shops, in the toilet paper aisle, in those late night texts, whether you wonder, is this worth sending? Your little or big story, it matters. There's always going to be more to your story because He is faithful even when we can't see what's up ahead. I encourage you to continue to build, to fight for, and to foster friendships, even when those lies, they rear its ugly head in your life, because let me tell you, they will. They still will. But one thing that I can tell you is if you choose to link arms with the woman to your right and to your left, when you're feeling like that and you feel like the lies are overwhelming you, you will look to your right and your left and you'll see there are women who believe with you, they hold you up, and believe that you are more than enough. That point you towards to Jesus as you continue and to unravel and discover there is so much more to your story. Thank you.